Good afternoon, gladiators. We who are about to play, salute you. Alright, today we're playing Swords and Sandals 3 Gladiator Ultratus. This game was made in 2008 and had two versions, Solo Ultratus and Multiplayer Ultratus. Today we're playing Solo Ultratus because, alas, Multiplayer Ultratus is no longer with us. I'll explain the story behind that today as well. Let's just jump right into it. I haven't played this game in many years, as with most of the games that I've played in my Oli Plays. This one was a massive production of mine. It took, again, about 7 or 8 months, maybe a bit longer, full time, of course, back in the day when I was working for the old company. And it had basically everything I could think of at the time. Let's start with a new gladiator. Right, let's make him a big unit. So this was the first game that actually had different body shapes. As you can notice, as he gets skinnier and skinnier, his body will change to a skinny body, muscular, and fat. I really went all out on the body creations for these characters because I had multiplayer in mind when I was designing it. And I really wanted everyone to have a really unique looking character. Everything from the features, there's like 20 different eyes and noses and helm and hats and dog man and stuff. A lot of this, it isn't really canon as far as Brando is concerned. There isn't really characters that look exactly like this, but you know, there's not a dog man, for example. Actually, no, there probably is as far as Arglax. But I just thought it'd be fun to have all these different species in the game, like this weird sort of squid man. He's actually kind of fun. Let's change his color and go with him for our character. What about blue? Yeah, okay, there we go. Facial hair, give him some stubble. All right, that's good enough for me. One thing that I'm going to point out as far as the character build here, the actual design of it, you can't really see from this pose, but when we actually get to the battles, you'll notice the way the gladiator is standing. I actually designed the gladiators around a character from Street Fighter 2, I think it was World Warrior, whichever the version that had T-Hawk in it. So that giant Native American warrior proved I really liked the way he was standing, and so I looked at that sprite a lot and thought I'm going to base my characters around that, just because I really like this big hulking build that he had. All right, so let's go. Give some stats: bit of strength, bit of agility, and bit of vitality. Again, I don't really go for the spellcasting builds that often for some reason. A lot of people love it, but it's all about the variety, isn't it? York of Dankheart. Ratus. Let's call him Ratus. Ratus loves to bore people with stories about short people. That's pretty crap. This might be the first game that you could actually choose your own fascinating trivia fact, because I think in the multiplayer version you actually could trade trivia facts and so on. Favorite food is tofu. Oh, can't have that tofu. Oh, not a good favorite food. Only respects clocks. Yeah, good enough. Taunt quote, rah, this was for the multiplayer version as well, when you defeated people, and you often got some really nasty quotes from each other, but I think I did put a swear filter in there, but there's always ways around it, if you know what I mean. Alright, done. Whither are we bound? You run, the wind willing you onward towards your fate. 10 long years have passed since the undead Emperor Antares was defeated by a great hero and his arena at Domtrek fell to ruin. Since that fateful day, the lands of Brando were plunged into a long and bloody war as crusaders, beasts and lawless men battled for control of the realm. However, none of that matters to you. You are a gladiator, no less and no more. All you care for is the thrill of combat, the clash of sword upon shield and the roar of bloodthirsty crowds. Many thousands of leagues away from the Crusades, perched high on the cliffs of the Carnage, a formidable new arena has appeared, blah blah blah. You, like thousands of others, have from every corner of the globe now traveled to the... scrolling too fast for me, or maybe my text was too slow. Most will die horribly, burnt by magic flames, but for the rest who survive, untold glory awaits. And that is where our story begins. Yeah, so this game is basically set 20 years after the Crusades, and much has changed. Antares has, of course, been destroyed, we think, and other powers have risen. The powers in particular are the automatons, who are magical creatures from another planet, robotic creatures. Here we are at the arena, the Gladiator Ultratus arena, and I can't remember if I gave it a name or not, but Doomtrek was on an island in the eastern seas off the coast of Brandor. This arena is in the Badlands in the west, quite near to Edingarth and north of the Akash Steppes. Ooh, there's a wolf. So it looks like it's early morning. The sun hasn't quite risen yet. This game has got a lot more shops available to the player than previous Sword and Sandals, because there's a lot more armor and weapons and spells. There's more of everything in this game, really. Shall we go through the shops and see? And you can also challenge the arena champion at any time, which is kind of cool. All right, let's go to the... What about... I'm trying to find a sword. Mr. Muji. Okay, that little piece of music, I'll let you in a little secret, is I was watching a documentary one night on the situation in China, on how many people were owning cars and how clogged up the cities were. And it had a theme song sung by the People's Children's Broadcasting Choir or something, which is a state broadcasting choir, obviously composed of children. And they had a song called So Many Cars in Beijing. And that was the instrumental version of it. And you know what? I just nicked it. I got to be honest with you. Like, if the Chinese government ever finds out what they're going to do, you know, I just thought it was fun. Mr. Muji is, of course, a stereotype based on Mr. Fuji from pro wrestling. And he first appeared in a game called Dwarf on a Wharf. Okay, let's see what items are available to us. This game has way more items than in the previous ones. Should we go with a saber? One-handed. Yes, let's buy a saber. Cool. And the cool thing about this game as well is that, similar to Diablo and Titan Quest and those kind of games and Warcraft, the more powerful items end up having prefixes and suffixes, like this unholy rapier, which has makes you more evil. And you could get things like the devastating mace of kingly might and that kind of thing. I think I might have spent, several weeks coming up with prefixes and suffixes for them. Prefix being before the word, suffix after. And there's something like 1,000 different names that are in there, and each one has a different property. It's pretty in-depth. Again, because I thought in multiplayer it's good to have some variety. Probably went into a little too much detail, I think. But, I think a lot of the players appreciated it. All right, where else should we go? The Armoury and the Forest Brat, who was in her own game called Forest Brat, a little platformer I made years ago. And she is a little elf kind of character, kind of surly. Okay, sort by level, cloth, wraps, pants. Yeah, let's get some pants. And some cloth wraps, can we afford? No, all right. But we do need some pants. And the cool thing about this game as well is the inventory system was way more detailed as far as you could drag and drop things onto your body. So now we've got some pants. I was inspired by the classic Ultima 7 paper doll system where you could drag and drop things onto the avatar and he would hold it. And I always loved that and wanted to put it into a game. I have not actually used this system since Sword and Sandals 3 because it was quite challenging to build, but guarantee when I make Sword and Sandals 6 eventually, I want to use this because I just love how detailed it is and how intuitive, and how you can just sort of have two swords and drag one to the one hand, one to the other, and then you have a two-handed weapon style. None of the Sword and Sandals since has ever had that much detail, and it's funny playing back the game now. You really kind of notice these things. What can we have here? We have the talents as well. You can see what talents we have. Your skill tree. 4 different skill trees. Very much based on games like Warcraft and Diablo, which I've been playing a lot of at the time. 2008. Probably too early for Diablo 3, but might have been Titan Quest and a little bit of Warcraft. And I definitely was inspired by those games. And these skills have a lot of make your gladiators quite unique in how they play. And inventory, spellbook. You also have spells which you can drag onto the slots there. Man, this is a fun game. This is a really detailed game, and I kind of wish that I'd made Sword and Sandals 5 a lot more like this and a lot less about the dungeon crawling, because, you know, very different kind of game, and I had a lot of development problems. Of course, Chaos is now working at the arena for some reason which I have never quite explained. I am Mighty Chaos, former arena champion, now helmet salesman. If you want to look like a true villain, here's the place to shop. Alright, but Chaos, your prices are far too expensive. I think we better get into a battle before we go to the other places. Into the arena. So the arena system is a little bit different from previous Sword and Sandals games in that you don't have to fight X amount of battles. You just have to get some experience, and you can choose any of these 5 gladiators at a time to level up. And you can really challenge the next arena champion at any time as well, which is something different. Let's fight Fearbones the Rogue. Alright, he's got a few things on us, so this might be a tough fight. He's had a few wins already under his belt. We are yet to fight. This is our first battle in the arena. Where are we fighting? The Pit of Malice. This game also had several different layers of parallax scrolling. You have a background, a foreground. The buttons are all down the bottom, so you can see the characters a bit clearer. And the zoom was quite dramatic as well. One thing that a few people sort of didn't love about Sword and Sandals 3 was the turns were a little bit slower than Sword and Sandals 2, so it didn't quite feel as fast-paced. And that's probably to do with the way the gladiators were animated. They had a little bit more wind-up time, a little bit more exaggerated reactions. Alright. So, we got any skills? Not yet. Rah! Taunt him, bring him closer towards me. Little details like blood on the swords, you'll notice. When you roll over a sword, you can actually see its damage and so on. We'll take that, fiend. Power attack. Oh. So he's healed himself. Gladiators could be good and evil in this game as well. So you would find that evil gladiators could cause damage to the other gladiator by calling on holy powers. It might be once per battle. And holy gladiators could heal themselves once per battle. And the way you became good and evil was to either spare your gladiator, the other gladiator's life when you defeat them, or to kill them. So let's put this guy to the sword. We spare his life? What do you reckon, guys? Girls, what do you reckon? Nah. Oh, faked him out too, and then chopped off his arm. So this game isn't really a game for young children. You can see they're all very cartoony, but a lot of limbs are lost. Okay, so did you hear that music in the background, that heavy metal music? I'll come back to that in 1 second. So let's level up. It's the same quote from the first one, which I believe might have been Confucius. We still haven't found out yet. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments. I can't remember, it's been so long. Let's get some strength and agility. Again, me singing the song. That's the Sword and Sandals 3 official song, which I'm going to put on the SoundCloud channel. I'll link to you guys. So you go back to the arena, and there's this Grog Scummo guy. A little trivia about Grog Scummo, who is in a few of these games. I think he's in Sword and Sandals Pirates and in this one. Grog Scummo is based on a bully from my childhood called Craig Hartgrove, who used to be the local bully. He was a bit bigger than all the other kids, and he would terrorize our streets, beating up kids and causing trouble. And in our teenage years, turned out to be a nice guy, and I think he was a tow truck driver in his later years, and I have no idea what happened to him. I haven't seen him in many, many years, but I never forgot the bullying that we got as kids. And so Craig Hartgrove became Grog Scummo, which doesn't really sound exactly the same, but in my head, that's him. So he's been immortalized, just like John the Butcher was immortalized, and others. All right, Who do we want to fight? Do we want to get some armor? One more fight. Let's fight Xander the mage. He looks skinny and weak. Today we're fighting up on that big tower, which I forgot the name of. So you can also leap as well. And you had this cool kind of like arrow that allowed you to leap in different directions. And a lot more detail to it than Swords and Sandals 2. You could also switch the camera up, so we could be zoomed right out, even further out, focus on me, focus on him, or the default auto camera, which is, I thought, pretty cool. And up here you have little rage bars, so once that fills up, if you do enough damage, you get into a battle rage and you can just wail on your enemy. Take that, Xander. Oh yeah, I thought he'd be easy. He must be punished. Oh, the same fake out. Is this becoming my signature move? Ratus the Squid Man. I cannot be defeated. I should have changed the name. That would have been fun. Put some custom text in there. Alright, so a little way to the next level. We've got some more gold. Should we check how much gold we have? We've got 400 gold, which might be enough for a helmet or something. Let's check out one of the other shops, because I wanted to talk about the heavy metal theme song in the game. These guys here, Gabriel Castro and Deej Kinder, guys I used to work with at the old company, and they were in a death metal band, you know, heavy metal, death metal, whatever it is. I've forgotten the name of the band at the time, and they went through 5 or 6 different band names, and they loved the game, and they also loved heavy metal music. And one day Gabriel said to me, can I make a theme song for the game? And I said, oh, absolutely. And so him and his band got together and did the really rocking metal version of the game, and that's Gabriel singing gladiator, 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 gladiator. And when they brought it to me, I was just blown away, and so I included a lot of that music in the game. I think in the multiplayer version of the game you hear it a lot more than the solo version. And Deej was the drummer, and he was a badass drummer, really great drummer. And he was a back-end programmer, so he actually worked on a lot of the server systems in this. So you could buy guitars from these guys, like a Flying V flamenco guitar, Kitar, this one, which is a pretty awesome weapon. I spent ages actually researching the guitars, you know, way too long. Telecasters, mandolins. That's a made-up guitar, which is based on the sort of the twin neck guitar you see all the 80s heavy metal players play. Some people didn't love the addition of guitars and guns, but I thought it was fun, and I kind of reasoned that the automatons, who are those robotic creatures that run the arena, brought this technology with them, and then when they left, they took it with them again, and nobody knew how to make it. So if we went to Father Painbringer's, oh yeah, Father Painbringer, dispensing parables in disguise of heavy firepower. This guy, who looks a little bit like Mel Gibson and a little bit like the guy from Little House on the Prairie, and he had his own game called Ghoul Academy, which I'm going to do a playthrough of in a few weeks. And he brings some really awesome looking weapons, like the chain guns and the bolter, which was kind of ripped out of Warhammer, but what are you going to do? Sumi Games Workshop. We could afford a bow, but only scared men use bows. We're not going to do that. No bows. No bows. All right. Phaser could be cool, but let's hang on to the next level. And what other shops we got? The Little Fat Kids Magic Shop. And he has a lot of classic quotes, like carrot cake confuses me when you see. There's a lot in this game. There's so much I've forgotten. Cure Archies. We can't afford any of that stuff, so let's get out. Let's go to the arena champion here. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's many arena champions. I think this game had something like 18 or 20. I don't remember exactly, but it really was the kitchen sink of Swords and Sandals. And for many, I think the high point of the series, and I feel like I did lose my way a bit after this, and there was a lot of internal politics in the company that sort of worked against me and weighed heavy on me, and I do wish that I'd been able to continue the gladiator aspect of the series like this, and I would definitely like to bring it back to the next one. Are we ready to change to fight Fearful Prisoner? Not yet. We got to do some more fights. All right, let's go and buy something from the Armoury. So this is a higher level Armoury with the Ultratus Forge. I don't know what that guy's name is, but he does appear in Swords and Sandals Pirates, so I should give him a name. He's a Cycladian. Part rock Cycladian. I think they're like a northern cousin of the seafaring Cycladians. Alright. Regular armor. We need a helmet, don't we? Give me a helmet. I don't know if we can wear helmets yet, though. I think it's like very similar to World of Warcraft, where you had to wait a few levels before wearing a nice helmet. But we could wear some silk pajamas, silk shoulder guards. Yeah, let's buy that. Oh no, we can't afford it. Cloth bands. Alright, cloth bands it is. It's hard being unprepared like this, wearing cloth garbage. Not going to protect you much, is it? Okay, it's still quite... I don't know if this game actually ever gave you what the time was. So you'd have to figure it out just from looking at the sky. It's still quite sort of grim. Enter the arena. A Sagan blob mage. I like to take on the mages early because mages get very powerful later on, but very early in the game they're pretty wimpy. Gilbert. And his name's Gilbert. Now we're in some kind of pit of skulls, which is pretty scary looking. Oh, he's got a ranged weapon. So much fear. Who owns all those skulls? Were former gladiators? Perhaps victims of mine or yours? Oh, is actually... I underestimated his power. Now let's try our unholy power attack. Oh, okay, we can regain health from that. I thought it did damage. Oh, man. This is tough for Radis. This could be his first loss. Oh, Gilbert has battle rage. And so that metal theme that you hear in the background, that was Deej and Gabs' band. That battle rage didn't last long, did it? I always wanted to add more music to this game. It does feel a bit silent, but in the era of Flash, you just had limited space. Oh, we got him with a big hit. He ain't being spared. Put him to the sword. Crunch. Alright. So, he's down. Now, we leveled up. Sweet. Now we've reached level 3, so we can actually add a skill. I think we'll go to the School of Warfare and choose Sword Mastery, which adds 2% chance to hit, 5% to damage with a sword. I'm kind of going all in on swords for now, because of course it is Swords and Sandals, not Axes and Sandals. Although axes are pretty cool in this game. Alright. Let's fight this guy, the Sheep Man, live from the Pit of Malice again. The automatons aren't as transparent a villain as Antares was. You don't really find out about them until well into the game when the various chapter text appears. That's one thing that, although there is a story in this game, it unfolds quite slowly. So it's not quite as clear as Sword and Sandals 2, you know, where you're a slave and the Emperor asks you, you know, frees you and so on, and then you know that he's the bad guy. Alright, taken out very quickly. Bam. Ooh, big power hit. Tony Lowe, the animator, did all the animations for the gladiators, which are pretty sweet. And there's so many of them. There's two-handed weapon animations, two dual-wielding animations. Bond the Robust Warrior. We could fight him, but we might want a better weapon. Let's head back to Muji's. I'll show you Brunhilda's as well. So that little was from a song by Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballé, who was a Spanish opera singer. They did a collaboration on an album, and that song was called Guide Me Home. And so I took her little bit and I sped it up and snuck it into the game. Back in the day, you used to do that a lot, and I think these days you're probably getting a bit of trouble for sampling stuff without, you know, mentioning it. But look, obscure Flash games like this, did anyone really care? And if the game ever got big enough, you know, that's a good problem to have, right? I don't really do it these days, though, because I'm a bit more professional. But back in the day, it was a bit of a wild, wild west. So she's sort of like some kind of Valkyrie. I think she's from up in Etania and the Sons of Frost and everything. We don't want any of her weapons, though. We're back to Muji's. Cool. Hooksword. I can't afford it, damn it. Daikatana, of course, was a little nod to the John Romero game that failed badly, the Daikatana, but I really love the name of the sword. It's not a real weapon. Alright, into the arena again and earn some more money. When we reach level 4, we're going to try and take on the Fearful Prisoner. So this game is a little bit more slow burn than Sword and Sandals 2. The powers you get are slower in how you level up to receive them, but they become way more powerful. And there's so many interesting spells, and you can disintegrate your opponents and burn them with acid. Whoa! Oh, what? 2 big hits. So he's a good guy. He spared our lives. That's our first loss. I love the little blood effect on the screen. That's really cool and something I want to use for the next game. Alright, so we've lost. And we lost a bit of money for that. But 5 new gladiators appear. A zombie sheepman. A Sagan blob bard. Yeah, take on the bard. Bards often start off just with their voice, but eventually they get really powerful guitars and so on, which can actually rip out your eardrums. So, Holy Smite. Okay. Let's try a demonic attack on him. Okay. Didn't do that much damage, because we're not evil enough yet. So you could also grapple and push, so you could, depending on the arena, you could push people into the into pits. This arena doesn't have a pit, as you can see if I zoom right out. But back to the normal camera. But the pit, the one we were in before had a really nasty pit we could have thrown him into. So next time maybe we'll try that. Not a great fight for either of us. I need a better weapon than this saber. It was good in the beginning, it served us well, but the weapons get very powerful, and I actually did, for each one of them, I did 4 variations with different hilts, different blades, and combinations of colors and so on. So the random weapons you get in the game end up being quite literally infinite, or if not infinite, billions of combinations, much like Borderlands or games like that. Put him to death. Ah, sucker. So as we level up, the metal music gets more and more heavy, which is kind of cool. So, Jagger the Hilarious, yeah, take him on. I just want to get enough money to see if we can push him off the cliff, actually. And of course, as you get more agile and so on, you end up flying around the screen, which is pretty fun. The same buttons as the classic Sword and Sandals, that never changed, even the newer ones. I ended up going away from this gladiator animation style in favor of the classic one, just because this is very complicated to animate and do new things with. When I switched over from classic Flash to air and styling, I wasn't able to replicate it. But, you know, I don't know, maybe I should go back to this one. What do you guys think? Leave a comment, because I'm really be interested to know if you prefer this style of gladiator or the Sword and Sandals 2 classic one. Whichever one kind of remembers a bit more. So this pushing isn't really working. I'm getting tired of him. And his holy ways. Ooh, he's doing some damage. Oh, disappointing. But he's a good guy, so he spared our life. What a guy. Sore loser kicking the dirt. Alright. Woden the Mage, yeah, with his bow. This game has some really, really cool arena champions as well. One in particular, which we're definitely not going to get to, not today anyway, is one called the Yeti Project. Now, I'll let you on a little secret. Back then, I didn't do that much balance testing, and even to this day, I don't do as much as I need to. And so I give the various arena champions different stats, and what I thought was, you know, good enough for a challenge for the player, but not insurmountable. And there was a boss about halfway through, which was a Yeti, which, or is basically this thing. Ah, killed us with a spell. He killed us. Yeah, and so the Yeti Project, I kind of put some stats in there, but he was so tough that I would get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of complaints. People would just email and write in and just say, I can't beat that. And they would rage. And you look up Yeti Project on YouTube and you will find people just raging because they can't defeat him. And funny enough, he's actually the toughest boss in the game, even though he's only about halfway through. Much tougher than the end boss, Ultratus, Omega, and Blue Screen Death, and Plastos, and all those guys. This stupid Yeti was just a real nightmare for a lot of characters. So go figure. I think it's fun to have a couple of bosses in there that are really, really challenging, much like, you know, how Dark Souls is popular because of that. Oh, Radis, he's a tough man. Really doesn't muck around, does he? Alright. Did we level up? I can't remember if we did. We are still level 3. Let's see if we can get a better weapon. Katana. Yeah, oh, we can almost afford one. If I sell my weapon, let's sell the saber. Can I drag it off? Yeah. So if I sell that to Mr. Muji, then I'll get a discount. Buy it for half price, you know, that's used, I guess. Then we should be able to buy the katana, which does nearly twice as the damage. Cool. All right, now we're cooking. That's cool. I like the ability to buy and sell, and I didn't put that in the originals, but Sandals 5 had that as well, so that's great. What's that button? View character. Cool. Here's view character. He's our guy. How's he looking? So he's pretty disagreeable. Every fight you win, you get more and more evil. And weapons, armor, modifiers. A lot of interesting stats in there for hardcore players. Now's the time I guess to talk about multiplayer Ultratus, and man, that was a lost opportunity. I still think about it to this day. So this game, like I said before, had the solo component, the single player one, and the multiplayer one, which we built using oh cool, magic spell. We built using a server called SmartFox server, and we paid the money for it, and we had some guys, I haven't equipped my weapon, this is going to be tough. Radis is going to lose this fight, quite clearly. But we just didn't consider how many people would actually want to play it, and so we had one guy running the servers, and you know, he had other projects that he had to deal with, and disappointingly, the infrastructure we had wasn't really there. You know, again, a lot of problems. The old company had some interesting stories. There you go. Let's arm that weapon. Now, the first day we launched multiplayer Ultratus, 900 concurrent players in the first hour, all in the lobbies, all fighting each other. It's going crazy. It then goes up to about 1100, 1200. It's going nuts, and I'm thinking, we got something. We got a hit here. This is going to be huge. Then the game falls over. Bam, nothing. You can't get on the server. Everyone's going, I can't play. What's going on? It took nearly a week for our guys to get the server back up and running. And that, it's just crushing, because people only check back once or twice and they give up. And this was kind of before Twitter and social media, and so we really didn't have much of a way of communicating with players. The servers were up and down and so on. And people unfortunately never came back to it. So by the time it came back, you'd find at any one time still, 50 to 100 people playing, but never to the mass numbers that we're building and growing. And so it was a real lost opportunity to really build something big. And everyone was kind of disappointed by that. The solo Ultratus did pretty well and sold plenty of copies, but not as much as Sandals II. And it was probably the beginning of the downfall of Sword and Sandals, which culminated in the failure of Sword and Sandals 4 and the disaster that was the original Sword and Sandals 5, which we'll talk about in the next Sword and Sandals video. There's a fun story. Let's take it out on Lord Yames. My frustration about the servers. Take him out. Crushed. He represents the servers. Alright. Happy dance. We level up yet? One more fight. Who should we fight? What do you reckon? Oh, Colin the athlete. I hate people called Colin. Goddamn, I've known some absolute arseholes. Bloody Collins. If your name's Colin, apologies to you. I'm sure there's some wonderful Collins out there. This shady character with his wizardry and snake oil tricks. I'm gonna really destroy him. No mercy. It's gonna be closer than I thought. Ah! Once again, undone by a colon. Oh man, bane of my existence. But he spared our life just to punish us later. Oh man, let's fight Garrick. He might be easy. Level 1 imp, little pink guy. I'd like to be able to push this guy off a cliff. We are not as agile as I'd like, but what we can do though, we can move backwards, get him to come towards us. And I got a little trick I want to show you. So, stole some magic from him. So, come on. Oh, he yelled him. So, okay, let's grapple with him. You go over there. Slightly dodgy hit detection, but I'd love to be able to push him off a cliff. Oh, not quite close enough. We'll get a little bit closer. All I wanna get is a little bit closer. Oh. Okay. Do we want to... Yeah, there he goes, off the cliff. That's just a satisfying way of beating people. I love it. I can't remember if Sword and Sandals 5 didn't have it, but again, what I want to do in Sword and Sandals 6 is not only be able to push people off the cliff, but I want to have different levels so you can climb up things, be on platforms, have raised attacks. I got a lot of ideas for it, and I was kind of inspired by that game, Nidhogg, which was the multiplayer fighting game that came out a couple of years ago on PlayStation. Was so popular. So if you're thinking about what Sword and Sandals 6 is going to be like, think about this game, think of Nidhogg, and be excited. Having said that, that game is still just in my mind. I've been planning it in my head, but I've got to get through Pirates first, and of course Sword and Sandals Adventures, which is the text adventure game, which will be coming out later this year. I got a busy schedule ahead of me, and a little baby, of course, who keeps me very busy, and I love him. All right, we got to beat this guy so we can get to the Arena of Champion and wrap this video up. Hope you guys have as much fun as I am. I really am enjoying playing this. When you make games, you spend so much time building them and testing little bits that by the end of the game you are just broken and you don't want to see it anymore. You can't really see objectively if your game is good or not, and there's so much to be said for the for time and coming back to something 6 months or 12 months later, or even many years later, just to appreciate what you've done. And it doesn't matter if you made a crappy little Flappy Birds clone, or a game as big as this, or something greater. There is still an achievement to be had for completing a game, and good on you, any game developer that does so. Spare his life. No! Crush. I wouldn't mind a two-handed weapon, actually. Gladiator! We've leveled up. What do you reckon? More strength and more vitality. We get tougher and bigger. We need a good weapon. We're going to take on the Fearful Prisoner, who, of course, was the first guy you fought in Sword and Sandals 2. And he was a sad character, wasn't he? Swordsmaster. What have we got for level 4 weapons? Longsword. Broadsword is one-handed. We can't afford a longsword. We could get... no, you know what? Let's get some armor. I think that's a good idea. What do you think about a shirt? Cloth shirt. Oh, it's embarrassing. I think if I really was really paying more attention, I would probably be buying and selling my armor and getting better stuff already. I really would love to have shown you the higher level stuff, but you've actually got to play through the game quite a bit to get to the cool kind of like God's mace of destroyal kind of thing. But those weapons are great. They spark lightning and call down thunder from the sky and that kind of thing. Can we afford any magic spells? Like firebolt or anything? Nah, we don't even have the intelligence to use it. Ratus isn't the smartest character, that's for sure. All right, I think you and I are ready to take on the Fearful Prisoner. Here he is. Challenger after that is Boarhide Trader Pigsus, who was based on my buddy Silas Rowe, who was a bit of a pig himself. Loves his food. Nah, great guy. He's going to hate me saying that. He was also the inspiration for Stylonius of Southport, the arena champion from Swords and Sandals 2. And also Mr. Amazing, who was another one of his aliases. This guy has many aliases. Zamfar the Haunted is the third one, and he's kind of based on Freddy Krueger with his sort of gloves like this. And that's the first automaton boss, who I can't remember. It's got some kind of like computery name, like Windows 2000 or something ridiculous. But first up, it's the Fearful Prisoner. Gladiator! Gladiator! Whoa! Lost my headphone. That happens when you headbang and you're old. Funny. Alright. I'm not afraid anymore! I love it. So somehow he got out of the dungeon, made his way all the way over to the gladiator Ultratus across the whole continent of Brandor, and is fighting us. The Fearful Prisoner was voted least likely to succeed of all the prisoners in the Empress Dungeon. Well, you know what? He showed them. Screw those guys. So now we're fighting in the cool Imperial Palace, or whatever it's called, with the marble floors. We want to get over to him quickly because he's going to cast some spells on us. That's why it would be nice to be a bit more agile. Oh, he's burning us. Burning! Burning! Oh man, we might not even get there. That's why it would have been cool to have a ranged weapon. But we... Alright, he's made the mistake of closing the gap. I didn't buy any healing potions or anything either, so... Yeah. See, he needs to use his magic more. And that's probably, you know, problem with my... oh, there it is. Maybe he needs to use it less. Oh, we got him though. We got him. Should we spare his life? I don't think so. Put him to death. So that's our first arena champion victory. Awesome. Arena champion defeated. You've leveled up. Another skill. So... dual wielding's ages away. I'd love to use that, but can't. What about... no way. You know what? After all that, the game has frozen on me. It said to me, you know what? You defeated the arena champion, I'm not happy, and blah blah blah. I'm Oliver Joyce, the game developer, and I'm a sore loser, and you know what? I'm freezing the game. I don't know. It was something to do with my computer and doing it. I don't know. Who knows what happened? But that's the end of our adventure for now. I tell you what, I really had a lot of fun playing this game, and it's definitely inspired me to make Sword and Sandals 6, and it really has given me a little more appreciation of that game and for the fans that loved it. I'm glad you guys love it as much as I do. You can actually buy this game still on eGames, who are of course my publisher, and a great bunch of guys, and they sell the entire Sword and Sandals collection for your PC or Mac really cheaply, and the games are great, and they're still as playable today as they were back in the day. So if you like that game, I encourage you to buy it, and also look out for Sword and Sandals Pirates, which is coming later this year, and I'm going to start doing some more videos about that when I get a chance. Next up on Oli Plays will be, of course, Sword and Sandals 4, but I wouldn't mind doing one or two more classic arcade games before that. Gives me a break in between the major games. If you've got any games you'd like me to play, leave a comment below and I'll see if I can get around to them. Until next time though, please like and subscribe to this video. Thank you to all my new subs. I'm up to 500 now, which is fantastic. I really appreciate it. And you guys are the best. Thanks to everyone in the Discord channel. I'll visit you guys more often, and really fun seeing what you guys have to say about the series, and I definitely read it all even if I don't respond. And thanks also to everyone on the Facebook page as well who sends me messages. Slowly but surely the Sword and Sandals community is getting bigger and bigger, and it's an exciting time. That was Sword and Sandals 3. I'm Oliver Joyce. Bye for now.